enough is enough with this Toronto Blue Jays team. They get pounded by the Baltimore Orioles last night. 10-1 ends up being the final, and I have officially had it. Fire everybody. It has become so apparent that Ross Atkins has built a problem that is now too big for him to change and is too hopeless for this coaching staff to fix. That was abysmal last night against the Baltimore Orioles. This team has a payroll of over $230 million, and yet last night they had to go with Trevor Richards and Bowden Francis to get their brains beat in. And I bought the Francis improvement last year, but there is no option beyond that. And this has been a problem in this organization for a couple of years. They got lucky last year with health and were able to basically stay the course, even with Manoah having some struggles at times, and then Ryu came back. But the lack of starting pitching depth in this organization, has been a problem for years now, and they have failed to address it. And the fact that they aren't prepared to deal with an injury is a pathetic indictment on where this organization is at this point. And yes, we thought Bowden Francis would be better coming into the season. And yeah, we thought Ricky Tiedemann could help, and maybe Mitch White would be better. But still, you have now understood Mitch White hasn't been on the team for a bit. Ricky Tiedemann's been gone for a while. And Bowden Francis has had some injury issues and has gone back and forth. So to have this understanding that pitching depth has been a problem for a long time now, and you are still rolling out there with Trevor Richards, who, by the way, is one more tweaked back away from basically being the closer for this team, which is in of itself an issue, but it is a horrendous mismanagement of this team that for 2 years they have been rolling with basically exactly 5 major league caliber starters in the organization. It is an indictment on the drafting and development and the asset allocation with the starting line, or with the rotation and with the roster for this team. It is dreadful. And the list of problems for this team, that one isn't even at the top of it. The offense is still dreadful. They haven't even been able to replace Brandon Belt. Think about that. Brandon Belt. They haven't even been able to replace Brandon Belt's production in this offense a year ago. That was supposed to be the gimme, and then you go out and get other guys to make this group better. But they don't even have a suitable replacement for a guy who was 2 wins above replacement last season. They haven't been able to do that. The internal growth that we were told was going to be coming hasn't happened. Kiermaier, worse. Springer, worse. Bichette, worse. Kirk, maybe leveling out, but worse. It has all been worse and worse and worse. Vladdy has stepped up, just not in the ways that you thought he would, and not in the ways that you constructed this roster to be able to take advantage of. A team that is supposed to be competitive at different points this season has relied on Ernie Clement and Daniel Vogelbach to get the offense going. It is just atrocious what this team is. Like, you look at it and you, excuse me, you look at the problems they are having in the rotation, in the lineup, in the bullpen, and there is no other conclusion to come to other than to say this is a bad baseball team. The bullpen is bottom 3rd in the league. The offense is bottom, 1 or 2 in the league in some categories, but certainly bottom 3rd in the league. The starting rotation is carrying them to be below 500, but they are still doing their damnedest to drag this team kicking and screaming into a playoff spot. And this series against the Orioles has shown just how dire this situation is. They feel miles behind the 2nd place team in this division. There is no more sugarcoating it. There's no more running from it. There's no more hiding from it. This is an organizational failure at every level, from the top all the way down to the players on this roster. This has been putrid. To have what many thought was a golden ticket with a core with Vladdy and Bo and Gurriel and Teoscar and Biggio, you now have 25% of what you thought Vlad would be. Bo just can't get it going this season. You traded away Teoscar Hernandez for a relief pitcher who you just optioned a couple of weeks ago. You have dealt Lourdes Gurriel Jr., along with one of the top prospects in baseball at the time, for Dalton Varsho, who, while is playing better, still only plays center field, the position that you kind of brought him in for, once or twice a week. It has been a complete failure, and they have had 2 years to fix this. The people who are in charge of this should not have the opportunity to try to right these wrongs. They have had that opportunity time and time again, and they have not done it. And then you take a broader look at it, and the group that came in and yelled shame, shame to Alex Anthopoulos for giving away all of that prospect depth and draining the prospect resources to get this team to the American League Championship Series has done a piss poor job of drafting and developing. And they have really gotten them back to a spot where you would now feel lucky if they just get to the ALDS. So you don't have prospects that you're excited about. You don't have a roster that even looks like a playoff team right now. So what are they doing right? Not a whole lot, to be perfectly honest with you. They brought in Ryu and Springer, and look, like the Gosman deal worked. The Barrios trade worked, I suppose. So they used some draft capital to get a starting pitcher. It was just an expensive one. The fact that they have had now 8 years of drafting and developing, and you have for pitchers, Manoah to show for it, and eventually maybe Ricky Tiedemann, is horrendous for this organization. And the thing that should worry them the most, people are angry, but a lot of people just don't care. Like, we have had a massive break between Stanley Cup playoff games. There's no talk about this team. When they are going well, this entire country gets behind them. And the Blue Jays are an absolute television juggernaut. But when it's bad, there isn't anger. There isn't, how can we fix this? It is just, okay, we'll move on to something else. It's summertime, man. We get like 2 good months a year in Canada. So you may as well take advantage of it and just not worry about this team. That's where people are at right now. People don't care about the Blue Jays because why should they?